Welcome back to another episode of the Fanatics Forum, where you get that real sports talk from the fans' perspective. And just really quick, can you like this video, share it, and leave a comment so I can keep giving you guys this content? So, for today's topic, we have some interesting things that I want to talk about. And one of them is something I've been telling people from day one, but their hatred for Dallas and sports media convincing you that I'm wrong. Also, if you're a 49ers fan, you won't like what I have to say. But again, I covered this topic in episode 2, so check that out as well. So, going to the Ravens versus 49ers game, all I heard is that Lamar doesn't have a chance and that San Francisco is the best team in football and that Brock Purdy is the MVP. And I'd be lying if I said that most of those claims are pretty easy to make, especially since the numbers paint that picture and narrative. But again, when it comes to football, it's every given Sunday, which means that if things are going well, then yes, all the prior statements could come to fruition. But when things start going wrong, then anything can happen. And that's what happened in this game. San Fran came in as the overwhelming favorite, but a lot of people overlooked something very clear that made the difference. The Ravens are a similar team compared to the 49ers. But the only difference, in my opinion, is that the Ravens are clearly better at the quarterback position, which means if two defenses are top tier and they're paired when you're comparing them, two teams that run the ball effectively as well, then this game will come down to the quarterback play. And that is why San Fran faltered. I've been telling people that the reason Brock Purdy looks so good is because the defense gets takeaways and is consistently making stops, which gives the offense more opportunities to score. And more opportunities means you have a better chance of putting up points. The 49ers have an MVP caliber running back and the best running back in the game right now, with a top tier offensive line, which allows them to wear down teams, especially when they have the lead. And that's when they're the scariest. They also have Kyleshanahan, who is a great play caller, and he puts Purdy in the best situation in order to be successful. And he has an offense designed to get you out of position with a bunch of motion. They wear you down with the run and the matchup nightmare. And they're a matchup nightmare because at almost every position you have to defend, they have a guy that's arguably top 5. So any one of them, whether it's Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, or Ayuk, all pose a threat in open space and have the ability to take the short pass the distance. But again, I always say and will say this about Brock Purdy and the 49ers. All that threat and their scheme only works if you can get the run game going and they put you in a position where you need to throw. The scheme doesn't work if it's a close game or if they're coming from behind because they need time to develop those shot plays and they need defenses to overcommit to open those throwing lanes, or they're matched up against a team like Dallas who plays way too much man, which leans more in their favor because one miss can flip the play on its head, can flip the whole game on its head. But they weren't able to do that against the Ravens. Yes, early on, McCaffrey was running on that defense, but the Ravens defense adjusted. And a lot of those short third downs that the 49ers thrive on weren't there. And that early pick that Purdy threw really put his team and the scheme in jeopardy. The reason I say that is because now Purdy can't rely on the run to get the ball down the field And because, well, one, it takes too long. And now they're down points wise. And it becomes a numbers game, as in you need to score or outpace the scoring of the Ravens in order to get into striking range to overtake them. But in situations like where they had Purdy, he needed to throw against an elite defense. And it was just a disaster waiting to happen. Also, let's take a minute to understand why the Ravens were a perfect team matchup wise. Go and they put 49ers in some trouble. Let's start off by looking at the Ravens defensive line. They have Justin Matabuke, who is 6'3", 300 pounds at D end. Michael Pierce, who is 6 foot, 345 pounds at nose tackle. Broderick Washington, who is 6'2", 305 pounds at defensive end. And Jadeveon Clowney, who is 6'5", 266 pounds. And he's also a great run defender and can play both defensive end and outside linebacker. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't care who you are. You're not running consistently on that defensive line alone. And they have straight dogs at linebacker with Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. So matchup wise, defensively, the Ravens have an edge, especially, and not only they have the edge, they have the best ability to stop what the 49ers do best. And the Ravens have been playing this style of football defensively for years. They love the bigger front, where they have almost all the guys on the D line over 300 pounds, which makes it difficult for the opposing offensive linemen to get to the linebackers in order to open up those big rushing lanes. Plus, the Ravens this year play defensively. Well, this not just this year, but defensively, they play a three deep coverage with four underneath zone defenders to really limit big plays so that even if they're moving the ball, it's going to take you forever to get down the field, which puts more pressure on the quarterback to have to try to score with limited mistakes, especially if they're down. And that's the situation that they created for Purdy. They created worst case scenario for the 49ers. And Purdy didn't help himself either with the four total interceptions. But you can't make mistakes like that against a top tier defense like that without it getting out of hand quick. The Ravens showed the blueprint on how to beat the 49ers, and hopefully other teams were watching, because the 49ers team, they're very beatable, just like every team in the NFL. But in order to do it, you need to put them in an uncomfortable situation and force them to make mistakes to the point that the defense can't bail them out, or where they can't be within striking distance, like one touchdown away, where McCaffrey could break for a big run and then boom, they're back in the game. The next topic we got up is Dallas and their two-game losing streak. And for Dallas, I'm just keeping it very simple and to the point. Stop running man coverage every play. You're putting your offense in such horrible positions when you do that. Offensive coordinators know exactly what the Dallas defense is doing, to the point that all they really need to do is just run man beater routes or rub routes to either open up big plays or just move the ball enough to waste time and control time of possession. This puts Dak in a position to have to score every drive to be competitive. Dallas, especially against the Dolphins, really let the offense down. It seemed like almost every drive the Dolphins were able to score. You can't be a top defense in the league and allow that to happen. But this doesn't mean that McCarthy isn't at fault too for not going to CeeDee Lamb for almost more than 2 quarters, especially since he had started out really hot in that game. But again, for me, it was the defense that let the game get away, especially when Dak gave them the lead with a go ahead touchdown to Brandon Cooks. And for the Buffalo game, again, that too was on the defense. You can't give up 266 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns and expect to win that game. Yes, Dallas has an undersized front, but to have no backup plan and scheme to counter the Bills, who are just getting into jumbo fronts and walking the ball down the field without having to pass, is unacceptable. Dallas needs to fix the defensive scheme, or they'll easily be one and done in the playoffs. Dallas is on a 2 game losing streak against two teams that they could have easily beat. But again, that's in the past. And if they don't learn from their mistakes, it's going to all be for nothing. Thank you so much for watching today's episode here at the Fanatics Forum, the sports podcast where you get that real sports talk from the fans' perspective. I'm your host, Mecca Mike, and don't forget to follow me on X, aka Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel so I can keep giving you this unfiltered content. Thank you again, and see you next time. I'm out.